think we waited long enough. If still people are coming, they can just get through the door. Yeah, welcome to the last Let's Play of the Expo, the fifth one. We will now have a look at a game called The Darkest Files, a Holocaust history mainstream game, you could call it maybe. With me here is Jörg Friedrich, who is the co-founder and game director at Paintbucket Games, who developed the game, who also developed many other award-winning and historically significant titles, like, for example, Through the Darkest of Times. We will probably talk a bit about that too. Remember The Children of Bulnuda Dam, which was our first Let's Play on Tuesday, and Forced Abroad, another educational game about the Holocaust. Yeah, and also with us is Mani Handke, a game and narrative designer at Paintbucket Games, who will be playing for us today. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, we will have a look at The Darkest Files, a historical courtroom investigation game where the players will take the role of a prosecutor in the team of General Attorney Fritz Bauer and building cases against perpetrators of the Nazi era in post-war Germany. So, but before we start in the game, maybe Jörg, you can tell us a little bit more about Paintbucket Games and of the kind of the genesis of The Darkest Files.
Yeah, happy to. Paintbucket Games was founded in 2018 by Sebastian Schulz and myself. And Sebastian and me, we had been working have been working in digital games for now more than 20 years. We have most of the time we have been working in what you call like mainstream games, big games, AAA games, so like games with more than 100 people working on something for more than 3 years, so big budget games, where the Holocaust was not a topic for some reason. And in 2016 we got kind of tired of making more games about killing orcs or zombies or aliens. And because we looked at the world and thought something needs to be done, and the only thing we can do is making video games. So we started developing a game called Through the Darkest of Times, in which you play a resistance cell, a civilian resistance cell in Germany that tries to fight the Nazi regime. And the reason for that was that we found that in mainstream gaming, if you want to call it mainstream or gaming in general, so outside of the educational space, that's how I would put it, there was basically almost no game about the Holocaust back then. I always put up the statement that if someone would learn everything about history from video games back then, Nazis would be the guys with the coolest tanks and the nice-looking uniforms, but they would not know about the Holocaust. They would not know about what led to the Second World War and so on. So that was a gap that we identified that we wanted to fill with games that work as games. That's our approach, right? We are not educators, but that approach these topics, these themes in an appropriate manner. And what happened back then was that we relatively fast came together with all kinds of Holocaust educators, because those were the only ones that had any experience in how to approach this topic in an appropriate manner. And since then there was a lot of exchange, and we have been closely connected to this, and we're super happy to be here because it really fits what we are doing and what we want to do.
Okay, then maybe we can start into the game and have a look at the introduction sequence. I think that will already tell us a lot about what the game is about.
Maybe I start with this, even before the introduction sequence. Something we learned, we have different difficulty modes, and that is something for maybe for people outside the game development space to consider, is that audiences can be very different. Something we learned very early, our first prototype or demo that we put out there, the main feedback we got was that people said, it's too easy. We want something that's super hard, and puzzles need to be much harder to solve. So we added a very hard difficulty, and that's how we shipped the game, with this very easy difficulty and this very hard difficulty. And then everyone was playing on hard, and then complained that the game was too hard. So we patched a normal difficulty in between, because something that is often not so, well, apparently we forgot about it as well, but difficulty can also be a barrier, right? It can also block people from playing a game because they're not so literate with playing games, and so having different difficulties is a way of accessibility, making the game more accessible.
Yeah, you took a lot of care into making the game accessible.
Yeah, we can talk about this a bit later, but
okay.
yes, yeah, here for example, exactly. We took a lot of care in making the game accessible also to people, for example, who are not able to play with two hands. We're working very closely with an expert and someone who helped us developing this. So the game is actually playable with only mouse and one button if you need to. And yeah, that was important to us. General, let's start. Yeah, just briefly to this. This was the approach here. So we have the historical figure of Fritz Bauer, who really existed, the general attorney, who was is famous among other things for starting the Auschwitz trials in the early 60s. Then you have a team of fictional investigators, including the protagonist, who is fictional. And the cases, again, they are based on real cases. So we went through files and we went in an archive and checked out real cases, but we changed the names and sometimes we changed some of the facts to make them more accessible and make them fit into the game's format, basically. Yeah.
Frankfurt, West Germany, 1956. 11 years after the end of World War II, many crimes of the Nazi era still go unpunished. The perpetrators of these crimes are walking free. Many judges, prosecutors, and police officers have already served under the Nazis. Now they have no interest in prosecuting their former comrades for actions similar to their own. For the victims of these crimes, this is unbearable. To end this, Attorney General Fritz Bauer establishes a special unit of young prosecutors with no ties to the old regime. I am Esther Katz. I am one of these prosecutors. We are investigating Nazi crimes and bringing perpetrators to justice. Not to avenge, not to heal, but to show that there are laws that apply to all. It doesn't make us popular. Most want to forget. Some want us to shut up, but they cannot stop us. Nothing belongs to the past. Everything is still present and can become the future again.
If you would have told me 20 years ago that there would be a game taking place in West Germany in the 50s, I wouldn't believe you, because 20 years ago, bringing Nazi perpetrators to justice usually involved a machine gun and the beaches of Normandy. So why did you decide to use this setting, which is, I mean, even your last game, Through the Darkest of Times, is kind of, it's still an interesting setting. It's a resistance fight.
Yeah.
But now we take a step further back,
Yeah.
and we play as lawyers in a bureau, reading documents.
Yeah. Well, because we wanted to tell that story, right? Because when we finished, when we were in the final phase of developing Through the Darkest of Times, which ends basically with 1945, we started to ask ourselves the question. So, and then we had developed all these characters, and we had done so much research on perpetrators, victims, resistant fighters, bystanders, so where did they all go? It was not all over like in our game, where it pretty much ends with the capitulation of Germany, but these people were still around, right? They were somewhere, something was still going on. And if you look at what happened next, the name of Fritz Bauer is one that comes up very soon. And and we found that such a fascinating story, and that's how we often came to the ideas of our games, that we find something in real world or in history that we think like that's something that's worth telling through a game, and then a concept on how to tell it in a game follows.
Paul, for sure, today in this keynote talked about this notion of Nazis that just came from outer space and then the war was over and they just vanished again. I talked about that with him yesterday evening at the dinner, and I told him of the Darkest Files, and he seemed really happy that there is a game where the Nazis don't come from outer space, but they are part of society, a society that resists remembering, that resists taking responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we can have a bit of a look at the gameplay, and you can tell us a bit about what we are seeing, what is happening.
Hello?
Yeah.
Anybody here? Not much of a welcome party.
Yeah, we see the office of Bauer here. It's our version of it. It's how we imagine it. It's not the original office. It is, however, the location is right. You might want to go to the window quickly, Rani. The other window. The other window.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah. Where you can see the street exactly. So we put it. This is the Katharinenkirche in Frankfurt, and it's pretty much where the office really was located. Yet the version is our own, because we wanted to have it as a condensed space. We didn't want to have a huge building, and we wanted to have this like special small group of people inside. Let's go to Esther's office for now.
I'm sorry.
It must be. Oh, hello. Good
Can you hear everything? Is it
morning.
too?
Sorry,
Okay.
You must be Miss Katz, right?
Esther Katz, yes, that would be me. And you are?
Paula Fisher. Hello. I'm a legal assistant here for Mr. Bernstein. Well, the legal assistant. We're understaffed at the moment.
It's nice to meet you, Paula.
Oh, it's my pleasure, believe me. I've brought you this week's newspaper and a letter that I'd write for you. Anyway, I should probably be going. I'll be at my desk if you need anything. You'll find me. Or through the intercom. We just have a whole system installed. It made my life so much easier.
Thank you. Is there anything else?
Mr. Bauer wants to talk with you once you've acclimatized. His words, not mine. He should be arriving soon for that matter, so should the rest of the team.
I see. Very good. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on our team, Ms. Katz.
All right then. First encounter, check. Time for me to say it.
Yeah, so this is Esther Katz's first day in the office. We just arrived. We have our box with our personal things on our desk. We just met Paula, our legal assistant. She'll help us a lot during the game. That's
Last holiday we spent together as a family. I'm so glad they have made us do it. Franz was such a show-up that summer. Always trying to impress the girls. I wish you were here, big brother. Look at that. Written evidence of all those sleepless nights. And the ton of coffee. But here I am. I finally made it. Pretty sure it was all worth it. I'm not letting you down. I swear. A new job deserves a fresh journal, ready to be filled with notes and tests.
let's check the letter first. Yeah, so here we introduce Esther's father for the first time. He also happens to be a lawyer. He's really supportive. He's kind of proud of his daughter for getting here. He's not that happy about her just picking this place to work at, but we'll learn about that later.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even in the newspaper.
Yeah, we can also we'll check the newspaper now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the game kind of works in days, right? And every day you get a new newspaper with a few news from that era. It's news that we wrote, and also we made up the newspaper, but it's events. It's based on actual events and similar articles of that time. So yeah, and as you can see here already, the work of Fritz Bauer was not appreciated by the general public, politics, or media.
I mean, and that's also something special. Usually in games, when we are the good guys, everyone else is cheering for us, fighting the bad guys. But in this game, it's kind of like we try to fix something, we try to make the world better, and everyone around us hates it.
Yeah.
So was it a deliberate choice? I mean, that was the situation at the time, but was it a choice for you to make that at all points of the game very clear that people don't like what you're doing?
Yeah, that was an important setup right from the beginning. That there was a resistance. You're doing this against the will of most people, right? Yeah. Okay, let's answer the.
Yeah. Must be important.
Mr. Bauer is ready for you. He said at your own time. That means as soon as possible.
Thank you. I'd better get going then.
Good luck.
Miss Katz, welcome to the front line.
The front line, Dr. Bauer?
Just listen, we're working together. And it's where you are now, at the edge of the end now. Believe me, when you leave this office, you'll enter hostile territory. My name, as you already know, is Fritz Bauer, General Prosecutor. Much to the displeasure of the public, I insist on investigating the many crimes committed under the NSDAP. Most of them, of course, have long since gone cold. And nobody out there truly wishes for us, for you, to solve them. Or frankly, to even touch them. A rather thankless job, may I say. Are you up for it?
You also using quotes from Fritz Bauer. I know when I wrote an article about the game, I was trying to find out, is this what he was really saying?
Yeah.
And the line about entering enemy territory when leaving the bureau, that's something he actually said.
Yeah. Yeah, we read a lot of we read a lot about him. We watched a lot of. There are some few videos and interviews with him. We read a lot of his publications, and it's just was just a fascinating figure, and not just this Nazi hunter, as if we put it, but he was just someone who also was so ahead of his time in many aspects, right? He was someone fighting against the discrimination and or the criminalization of homosexuality. He was fighting for stronger union rights and all these things. He was really very liberal, very far ahead for the time.
And I remember him smoking in most of the interviews.
All the time.
And there's a surprising amount of smoking in the game that's also kind of special. This is kind of a sidetrack, but I was wondering, in Germany for the longest time, showing swastikas, showing other symbols of Nazi Germany wasn't possible. Now it's possible. But there are other countries with other restrictions. For example, I know in Australia, showing people smoking is a huge problem. Is there a version released in Australia to do any?
Yeah, I mean, it's on Steam, so it's also released in Australia. It would if we would go on consoles and the app stores, then we would probably get an R rating for those countries because of the smoking. We would need to see what we do about that. It was like, but in Through the Darkest of Times, originally there was also a lot of smoking, and we had to take it out because of that. But here I think that would be difficult.
It's just sometimes it's just such arbitrary obstacles you have to deal with trying to depict certain times of history.
Yeah.
And that was just how it was in post-war Germany. Everybody was smoking.
Yeah.
So but let's listen to Mr. Bauer.
I am, and I'm well aware of this.
You see, I'm not entirely sure of that. But no matter. Miss Katz, I believe I have a perfect case for you to start.
I'm listening.
Hans Naumann, an older gentleman, shot just before the end of the war.
And why does this fall under our jurisdiction?
The suspects. According to the victim's wife, her husband was taken by uniformed men for no reason. He never came back. His body was found in a forest nearby after the war. Shot in the head.
I assume this isn't the first time she brought this case up?
No, it's not. Miss Naumann reported her husband's death to the police. A case was opened. The public prosecutor's office investigated members of the NSDAP local group. They're suspects. However, no charges were pressed. Based on the investigation, Hans Naumann was lawfully executed.
And how did they reach this conclusion?
That you can learn from the documents. The first thing that I'll need you to establish is why Hans Naumann was taken. Depending on the answer, we see if the case warrants a full investigation. I asked Mrs. Fisher to prepare a file. It should probably already be on your desk. I suggest you familiarize yourself with it and invite the widow to give a statement. Mrs. Fisher should be able to help you with that. It might also be wise to check the archives. You never know what is hidden in these old boxes. Maybe something about this official order mentioned in the discontinuation report. Ask Mr. Warner for the keys. I believe he has a spare set. Good luck, Miss Katz.
Right. Get the keys, check the files, and invite the first witness.
This is
I need a refresher on the Nazi hierarchy. Understanding the chain of command will be crucial. Paula did say to ask her if I needed anything.
Yeah. Let's go to Christoph first, though. Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that, so the game is about prosecuting Nazi perpetrators, but like we already have seen, it's not the big fish we are after at. It's, just really small fry, just people from local NSDAP groups, and even the case itself, it's just one person who was killed, and it's not even clear yet if this maybe just wasn't something completely legal.
Yeah. That was a conscious decision that we said that we do these kind of rather small cases compared to, I don't know, say mass shootings or something comparable, because it's an investigation game. We advertised it on Steam and everywhere as an investigation game, as an historical true crime investigation game. And we kind of learned, you were mentioning the chocolate-covered broccoli earlier. We lured people into it, right? So it's saying like, it's an investigation game and it's about history and come on, it's like, but we didn't tell them right away it's about the Holocaust and so are the cases, right? And we wanted cases where people could maybe easier imagine that this would still be something that could happen today. That this is not, this monster and this monstrous, unbelievable crime or hard to imagine happening crime that you can easily distance from, but rather something small, petty, someone, making things up or being jealous, and all of this happening in a system where the rule of law doesn't apply anymore, where individuals don't have rights in front of court anymore. Suddenly it leads to death. And going down this route then eventually might lead to a Holocaust and Auschwitz. And this is what we tried to, this is why we picked the small cases to carefully lead you in and towards these.
So no Nazis from outer space, and also no just big mystical Nazi figures, but really normal people doing, in air quotes, normal things during that time.
Yeah, in a terrible system.
Yeah, in a terrible system. Okay. Yeah, then
let's get the keys.
Whoa, hello. Oh, please forgive the mess. I'm afraid I didn't have the time to clean up. Miss Katz, right?
Esther Katz, nice to meet you.
Pleasure is all mine. Christoph wasn't. Christoph, preferably. I try to be on first name basis.
And how's that going?
It worked with Paula, not with Simon. Didn't dare to try with Bauer.
In this case, I would prefer you treat me like your male colleagues.
We are a small team. I'd love to tell you that we are small and tight-knit, but, well, happy to have more people join the fun. Especially someone like you.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, you're a woman.
That's a very astute observation.
Right. Sorry. Well, what I meant to say is, you're a woman and the prosecutor. That didn't sound better.
Not really.
Right. Well, high time. That's it, in short. Right. Again, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Mr. Bauer said you have the keys to the archive?
I do. We all. Oh, despair. I tend to keep 2 sets, as I'm somewhat prone to displacing them. Just let me find it. And there it is, the master key. Be aware of its gifts.
Thank you, Mr. Roland.
Peace. Christoph is fine. Good luck in the archives.
just saw another dimension of the topics of your game, the sexism of the time.
Yes.
I mean, I did some research, and there were no women attorneys in the team of Fritz Bauer.
No.
But you decided to have one as the main protagonist. I researched some more, and at least I found out that in that time there were already female state attorneys. So it's not completely out of the air. Yeah, but still, why did you decide to have a female protagonist, especially in a gaming mainstream culture where female protagonists, not always, but many times, just cause a huge discussion about why are you making the game about diversity?
Well, for once, because otherwise it would have been almost only men only, and we found that a bit boring, and also and at the same time we found it really interesting to make up this scenario where not only you are investigating these crimes that no one wants you to investigate, but you're also, on top of that, you're also a woman. And what kind of situations would this build? And it did, and we liked it. And also, yes, there are these outlets of female protagonists and so on. However, but for our genre, the genre of mystery games, the audience is actually mainly female. But that wasn't really something that we considered, but it turned out to resonate well. We have our player base is 85% female. We figured,
Yeah, maybe we will reach the point where the yellow press has something to say about our work. Yeah, but that's.
So sorry, for this game or in general?
For this game.
Okay.
Yeah, for this game. Like for the data we know from Steam, we have no data, but when we did meta ads, that's where we had the data from.
The smell brings me up to all the nights at the library.
And again, if you would have told me 20 years ago that people would voluntarily play a game where they have to look for paper in an archive, I wouldn't have believed it. Now there are a lot of games that are not about action, but about researching information and cross-referencing information. So how... good.
Please go on.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a challenge to create engaging gameplay that at its core is about reading documents and finding documents in a file cabinet?
It was something that we invested a lot of time in. To make it really juicy. You will see later how to interact with the documents, that you can put markers and bookmarks and whatnot, and and how they are animated and so on. And it's something but it's just something that was really appreciated by the players of the game. Who apparently there are lots of these document nerds out there that like to have this in their video game experience as well.
I like it too, I have to confess. I don't know what it is, but it's fun to... I wouldn't read those documents outside of the game, but inside of the game it just, it feels like an investigation. So this imagination of this role as a state attorney, it helps engaging with the material. But what I learned at the press event for the game is that wasn't always planned like this. At the beginning, when you started kind of finding ideas for the game, you were imagining it as a strategy game, just like, or similar to the Darkest of Times. Why did you change this approach?
Well, game developers can be pragmatic sometimes, and this is so we just and also this being kind of the successor to Through the Darkest of Times. We first thought, okay, we use a similar gameplay because people are already used to it. So there's a strategy. So the first concept was there's a strategy map. There are like clues popping up on the world map, and we're sending out investigators. So it was very similar to Through the Darkest of Times. And we figured relatively quickly that this doesn't work in the first prototype already because it just didn't feel right. Because it would have, in order to work, it would have required a lot of cases, and we would have only very short amount of time for each case, not much text and so on, because it would have been a little bit fast-paced, if you want. And we realized that for this topic, and especially working with real cases, which is something that we wanted to do, we wanted to get closer and really take time for each individual case, to tell it in all its details. And and then we looked at detective games, and The Return of the Obra Dinn back then was one of the role models for parts of it.
Yeah, in The Return of the Obra Dinn, you are, I think, a insurance accountant, so also a very thrilling perspective, and you're investigating an empty ship and try to find out why everyone died and how. So I think now we have found the case material for the Naumann case. So maybe we jump back into the case and try to or see what happens next.
Yeah, we can leave the archive now.
How often do I need to tell you that my plaque belongs on my door and not on the floor?
That voice. Oh no.
And how often do I need to remind you that I am not your handyman?
Just fix my door, Paula.
No. There's no way it's Peters. No. I need to check it. Please let it not be him.
So there's also some conflict inside of the...
Yeah, there's also some conflict, and like there's that is something last year. It was just last year. A year ago we made a Kickstarter for the game. We already knew that it was basically funded, but we wanted to build up a larger community and reach out, especially outside of Germany, to communities. And that's why we did a Kickstarter. And one of the things that allowed us to do was adding more like these little personal things that happens, meetings in the tea kitchen and so on. And people really love that. It's really this kind of office, not really romance, but like, office relationships that are going on the side of the actual cases.
Yeah, now we're having a talk with Simon Peters, and Esther Katz and him have a relation.
Yeah, they know each other.
They know each other.
That's just,
My thoughts is that.
Oh, but what are you doing, your Katz?
Funny. I was just about to ask you the same thing.
You. I work here, Katz. I'm Mr. Bauer's right-hand man. And I'm so sorry, but we don't really do marriage disputes for bored housewives here, you know.
Right-hand man. So what? You're his assistant? I thought you wanted to be a well-paid defense attorney. Didn't get the job on account of your wonderful personality, I see.
Just my luck. So you're the new hire, Katz.
In your fashion.
You won't last a week.
You did. So I'm sure I managed. Just you watch. I'll outlast you. You'll see.
Classy, as always. You know what? I don't have time for this. Get out of my office, Katz. I'm trying to embarrass yourself.
Okay, so now that we have the case files, what are the next steps?
Yeah, we check the file now. Yeah. maybe let's take a look at the. Yeah, let's check out the police report maybe. No, the police report. Yeah. Exactly. So this is basically the first report when the widow of the victim went to the police. That is already after the war, and reported that her husband was found dead in the forest, shot, and she even was able to name some of the suspects. However, let me show the picture. Yeah, exactly. This is the. Yeah, we can. This is one of the systems we have. You can mark stuff and label it and bookmark it to find it easier later. And all of this might be important. We will not get to that point today because the game is rather long. But eventually, you will have to use these files at court. So there are two main sources of information. You can say one is talking to witnesses and suspects and collecting basically their testimonies, and the others are the files. So you always need to find out like, so what is true based on the files and the testimonies. Compare them.
Yeah, the interesting thing is how the game works here. So at this point we have these two documents,
yeah.
And already there's a mystery unfolding. Something can't be right. So in the police report we read that the victim was 77 years old, and in this document we learn that he climbed up a post
yeah.
and
beat up, and he was beating up a block warden. So something is wrong here.
Yeah.
Exclamation mark. Yeah, question mark.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used, when I played it, I used a lot of question marks and exclamation marks.
Yeah. And then we also learn, we don't need to look at all the documents, but we basically learn that she reported this case. However, the police and the prosecutor looked at this, yet they decided that the execution of the old man was lawfully, because the old man was a traitor and a communist traitor, and that was legal at that time. So there's nothing to do, and there will be no investigation. And now it's the question whether we open this up again.
That was already new information for me, that from nowadays perspective you look at that and you think directly that was a crime. Mm-hmm. It could have, no way this could have been legal, but yeah, but it was. And it couldn't be prosecuted when it was legal during the time it happened, when it was the common law.
It depended, mm-hmm. But I mean, that is the for me also something that I learned a lot when I digged into these cases, and also in the Auschwitz trials, that very often, yes, we think today, yeah, that there was just a criminal system, so everything they did was legal in their system. However, it was not, right? Even the mass killings in Auschwitz, they made up something to let them look legal, right? They made up this shot on the run in masses to give a legal appearance to something that even within the NS system was illegal. And that is something like for real that the real Fritz Bauer also had to do. They had to dig into these discrepancies and see where they can really sue people and find them. Okay.
So we have read a few documents. At some point we won't get any further with documents. We have to talk to people.
Yeah.
So maybe we can get to a point where we can interview our first
Witness.
Witness. Yeah. And there's a question.
Yeah, I was curious how you determined what the appropriate amount of text was to present the player. Obviously, there's a lot of documents,
Yeah.
and it seems like a delicate balance.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I feel it's still probably a little bit too much, but it actually. And also at one point we needed to basically say like, yeah, it is a game in which you read a lot. You will not get around reading. I think the important part, and that was also true for our first game, where we had no voice acting, for example, and everything was read. And back then we had a rule of you had this like multiple choice, choose your adventure kind of thing, and we said like every little segment shouldn't be longer than a tweet. And then you have a little choice to make, so you give people something to do regularly, and then it works. And here, I guess it was similar with you have the different documents, and you have you always can mark them, and if you get bored, you can look at a different one, and that seemed to work. But I think someone who hates reading will not be happy with the game. That's something we couldn't solve.
So
Yeah.
I just invited Miss Naumann.
Yes, then let's end the day, so we get where we wanted to get. Is the sound house?
Miss Katz, if you'd have a moment.
Yes, Paula?
I found some documents you're asking for. They're waiting in your inbox. Oh, and there was a call for you. Asked for you to call back. I wrote down the number and left it with the files.
That is, by the way, that we invented the inbox to make sure that people look at the documents at least once. That was one gameplay mechanic. So we could make sure that we knew that okay, they have seen that at that point, and we can later then use it in some dialogue or so.
And the daily agenda, if that's needed.
Who called me?
I'm afraid he didn't give a name. An older man, I'd say. Sounded very proper, even if he did ignore my questions. Oh, he referred to you just by name. Esther.
Thank you, Paula. Time to get started.
And it's a good thing that also in your game, people still are learning about uniforms. It's not only in Call of Duty, so you get that crowd too.
Yeah, there's a reason for this, right? We
Yeah.
will see this in a bit, why I have these documents and how they are used as well.
I still can't believe Peters is working here. Peters? I wonder if anybody can tell me how this happened. Paula?
Mrs. Naumann just arrived. I shot her to the conference room.
Thank you. I'll be right there. You must be Mrs. Naumann. Thank you for coming. My name is Esther Katz. I am one of the prosecutors in Attorney General Bauer's team.
Good morning, Miss Katz. I am very grateful that you found the time. The last prosecutor who looked into my husband's death didn't even speak to me. He dismissed the case, claiming my husband was rightfully executed as a traitor.
Did your husband do anything for which he could be accused of treason?
Of course not. The men that took him weren't even looking for him.
I see. I know it's not easy, but please take me through the day your husband was taken.
It was in April 45, only days before the Americans came.
Where were you that day?
Home. We lived in a small house. Hans was upstairs when the doorbell rang, before someone hammered against the door.
So yes, so this is our approach to the interviews and the witness interviews, because we wanted to make a crime game, and it should be somehow interesting and exciting. Yet it's a crime game. It's an investigation game about crimes that happened at least 11 years ago. So we don't have these, oh my God, you're at the crime scene and you're finding the clues, because it's just a long time ago. So what we did instead is you are diving as a player into the narration of the witnesses.
When you opened the door, who was it?
There were two men. One of them was pointing a gun at me.
Yeah, and as you can see here, you only see what the witness is telling you, right? So right now, we only have the guys as a silhouette. We don't know how they look like, and we need to ask her for that.
We don't see the time of day.
We don't see the time of day. Yeah, I just wanted to show that exactly.
Do you remember what time of the day it was?
We just had lunch, so it must have been close to 1 p.m.
Yeah, and now we have the time. Yeah.
Do you remember what they looked like?
Those were uniforms. Brown ones, if I'm not mistaken.
And again, this mechanic also helped us keeping the text a little bit lower, right? It wouldn't have been all like text-based long interviews, but really something, where it's visualized and you can interact with objects and characters and move around, making them, more engaging.
Did they belong to the Wehrmacht?
No. Not Wehrmacht and not police either. Maybe some kind of party officials or something. One of them was small, thin. He wore glasses, I remember that. The second man was bigger. He was the one pointing the gun at me. He seemed to be in charge.
What made you think that?
He had 2 golden stripes on his uniform, and he was bossing the small one around. He yelled and waved his gun around to scare me.
Let me stop you for a second. These stripes on his uniform.
Okay, so I hope you paid attention. What would be what kind of uniform did they wear? What do you think? What did they say?
Audience interaction.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember stripes, that was it. Brown uniforms.
Brown uniform. So that one? So should we lock this in? Okay. All right.
Could one of these be the badges, no?
Let me see. Yes, that's the one here. The local group leader. That's the one.
That is very useful. Thank you.
And we
They
just
demanded to speak to Mr. Naumann.
we only had to pick the document now because we play on easiest difficulty. On the hardest difficulty, you actually have to pick the right insignia or the right sentence in a document. And like this kind of mechanic of like picking the right part of the document goes through the entire game. Also later when you build your case and you go to court, in order to prove your theory at different steps, you basically need to provide documents or parts of documents to prove that your theory is right.
What happens if you pick the wrong option?
Like here, Here it would just be, she wouldn't just give you any further information, and you would have like a one, I'm not even sure if it matters here. Sometimes you get a little bit less information. Sometimes if you do this the right way, it basically unlocks you being able to ask then Paula for additional documents, and then you have like easier, you have a better way to build a case, or yeah, perfect case. In court, that's something that took a lot of work, and it was really important to us, is that we didn't want to soft block players. But many adventures do is basically there's this one right solution, and if you don't that designers came up with, and if you don't give that, then the game basically stops, and you can't continue playing. And what we did here is, especially for court, you can go to court with an entirely wrong theory. You can have nothing. You can have nothing that proves your point, and so on. And what will happen is you lose the case, but you will continue to play. So people will walk freely, and actually getting like the best verdict, so to speak. So everyone getting the highest verdict is really hard and requires like additional layers and layers of documents that you need to find and use in the right way. Yeah.
One thing I noticed, and I don't remember this from the demo, is there was still pop-up your investigation scores increased.
Yeah.
Which maybe that's too harsh, but had like a still jarring moment of a bit like you have in Ubisoft games, so and so will remember this. If you suddenly like giving like this meta information, like what was the reasoning behind that?
People like it. Simple as that. You can turn it off. You can turn it off. You can turn off the completionist thing off as well. In the hardest difficulty, there's nothing like this at all. You don't know if you find everything, and it would also not be highlighted. But there's really, it was really a challenge because our audiences are they're so different. There's so many different people. We really had this kind of some of the evangelists of the game, also of the streamers, they really wanted to have it super hard and really have to think about and dig into it. But also many people just played for the story, and they want to be guided and have everything easily findable there. Yeah.
Okay.
They were questioning you? No, they did not. They ignored Hans when he asked for their reason. Then everything happened so fast. The small one said they'd let him go if our son would turn himself in. Then they just herded him out, like an animal.
Yeah, and then you have always this path of interviewing someone, and eventually have asked all the main questions, and then you can like collect additional information and explore the memory, so to speak.
Me and my son never got the chance to say goodbye.
Do you know where they brought Hans?
No, I never found out.
What was that man's comment about your son?
Yeah, he was living with us at that time, but he didn't show up that night or the following. He got into some trouble. Bad trouble.
Do you think the men were looking for your son?
I believe so, yes. At least that's what they said.
Wait a second. I think it was mentioned somewhere.
Yeah, so now, did we take notes earlier?
Makes much more sense that a young person would climb up a flagpole.
Yeah. Yeah, just take it, yeah. So yeah.
Please take a look.
Oh God. Here it is. He recognized him as young Naumann. I can't believe there was proof all along. And the former prosecutor just dismissed it. How could he?
I wish I knew. I'm really sorry. Please, continue. What happened upon your son's return?
When Jan finally came back, it was already too late. We asked the authorities about Hans, but they pretended not to know anything. After the war, my husband was found dead in a forest nearby. Shot. I believe he died the same day they took him.
I would really like to talk to your son about it.
You and I both, dear. But I'm afraid that's not possible. Jan died only a few months after his father. Pneumonia. Hans was innocent. They killed him, and that's murder. No matter what they call it.
I hear you, Mrs. Norman.
Please, Miss Katz. Will you find the man?
I promise. I will find out who is responsible for your husband's death.
Thank you.
We will let you know if we have enough for an indictment. Please, Paula will help you to the door. Goodbye. I should update Mr. Bauer.
Maybe we just fast forward to Feldman now. So, because now that we talked basically to the victim or the relative of the victim, we would like to show one.
Should be in between, because I find this in the end, like this cliffhanger, is this coming to come back to haunt me in case I don't solve the case, but I promise you now that I will find it. No, I'm just really curious, because it's a lot of responsibility.
Yes.
And thinking, of course, and I think it's very nuanced in the game, that dialogues, now they make you somehow trace the truth, and they make you question where do you stand, where's guilt, where's morality, what does it mean to be involved, how in what happened. So would that reverberate throughout the game? What I choose
not,
to do is that...
our hope is that it will haunt you, the player, because no, seriously, I mean the idea of these kind of dialogues is often not so much to build a kind of moral choice where we then have moral consequences later in the game, but they are here for players to express themselves and to wonder, what would I say? Am I confident? Do I promise something, or am I not so sure? And that often works, actually. I feel that it often works even better than these clear, do I save the world or kill the cat decisions that games often do. That these smaller things, and if you do that in a certain frequency, that eventually players come in this mode of, yes, no, yes, I will do this, and do it more unconsciously.
I can say that I felt really bad after failing in my first attempt at the court. And I think I have promised Ms. Naumann to solve the case. Okay, and now we will soon see an interview with one of the possible perpetrators.
Yeah.
And since we can only see one, I can tell a bit about my experience.
Yeah.
That was I have a bit of an art house bougie comparison. At some point, the game reminded me of Akira Kurosawa's Rashomon, a movie where crime is happening, and then the story of the crime is told from the perspective of 3 different persons, and every time it's different, and at the end you don't know what was the truth, and it's kind of a bit like that in the game. So after every interview I had, I was thinking, okay, he's innocent and everyone else did it, but he's a fine guy. Then you have the next interview, no, he's a nice guy and everyone else was involved. Yeah, so I thought it was really well designed and written, that the characters are also ambivalent. So some you don't like at the start, but they haven't really done anything. Some you kind of like, and they are terrible. You find out later.
Yeah, I had to learn that this is one of the hardest things doing an investigative or this kind of game genre, is that you have to iterate it so often, because you can't really predict what people believe and what not, and if it's too easy or if it's unguessable, it's really, there's only one way to find out and have people play it and test it.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that once they tested it once, they know the solution, and you can't ask them to test again, because they basically worked.
I think I lost the first court case, or the first time I lost it, because I just had a fixed idea in my head of one person just being innocent.
Yeah.
There was a discrepancy in the documents, but somehow I didn't want to believe it. I didn't keep it in mind.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, as I saw it, it was like, oh no. So it was one of the 3 persons who I thought he did nothing, but then I found out he was the only one who owned the gun that was used. And in my head it was like, yeah, but maybe someone else took his gun. And so that's really great how the game does that it's a puzzle, but at the same time it's kind of, you have to deal with the fact that some people, even if you like them, even if they seem like decent people, they are still involved and still...
Yeah, I mean, something we put a lot of work in and a lot of thought was how to build a system that allows you to create your own theory, right? Because you can only come up with all these things because the game allows you to create your own theory, and not by multiple choice, not by saying like this or that happened, but by, I'm not sure we can probably not see this, but you later have a blueprint of the game where you basically create and say like, yes, this person was here and did that, and that person was there and did that. So you're really rebuilding the crime scene to try to reconstruct it, and that starts, that hopefully leads to people thinking about this way. All right.
So now we see kibitz.
Kibitz. Okay. Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Esther Katz.
A pleasure. Could you tell me how long I have to wait for the prosecutor?
Mr. Kibitz, I'm the prosecutor here.
Oh, modern times, I guess. How long will this take?
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Really?
Yeah.
He's such a nice guy. So polite and everything.
It will take as long as it takes.
It's all right, miss. I'm just asking.
Let's get started, shall we? This is about the arrest of Hans Naumann in Munich on April 28, 1945. According to a witness, 2 men picked up Mr. Naumann from his apartment. Were you one of them?
You're pretty. You know that.
Mr. Kibitz, were you one of those men?
No, I wasn't. We thought to the house. Then our group leader and Mr. Schickert got out of the car to arrest the man. Then they tossed the old man into the car and headed to the district office.
Please describe the situation.
District leader Schwartz came out and gave the command.
Yeah, again, we're diving into, well, his version of the events, and we ask questions by interacting with the objects. For example, what did they say?
An entire day in a damn cellar. They must have been bored and tried to pass the time. What command? What did he say?
He ordered to execute the man. Then he left. I felt uneasy. This was right. We followed group leader Falkman to the cell. There was tension.
What was Mr. Feldman doing?
Group leader Feldman seemed to hesitate. He shared my concerns about killing the old son. He told us to wait. Yet Schickert insisted. He referred to that new order of dealing with insurgents. He was such a stickler for his rules.
Wait a second. These orders you're talking about.
Yeah, also, for example, on the higher difficulties, right now we had all the time to interrupt. On the higher difficulty, you're basically under time pressure. There's a bar going down, and you need to decide quickly. And also, in the highest difficulty, you're not getting presented 3 documents, and one of them is the right one, but you have your whole file and need to find the right one. Yeah.
Sometimes even the right paragraph.
Yeah, and the right paragraph. Yeah.
Are you referring to this?
Yes, exactly. He was very vocal about it. He insisted that any delay would constitute treason. And treason must be reported, he said. The refusal to obey orders would be of interest for the Gestapo. Faced with this open threat of being denounced, we did not dare to act. The tension was strong. Group leader Feldman ordered us to wait once more, but Schickert drew his gun and shot him.
It's very dark, huh? Yeah.
It's darkest files.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we keep this short.
So what you are saying is Schickert shot the old man against Mr. Feldman's order?
Exactly.
That's horrible.
These are brutal events you're getting to hear here. Are you sure you're up for it? Honestly, no one would think this is a job for a woman. What do you have to prove? I will file a formal complaint.
That will not be necessary, Mr. Kiewitz. My superior knows quite well that I am up for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this job. Thank you for your time, Mr. Kiewitz.
Goodbye, Miss Katz.
Interesting. The suspects seem to agree on many aspects, but not all. I should see if I can make some sense of this on the blueprint and get this meeting.
So we have 50 minutes left, so maybe we can open up the discussion and invite you to ask questions, if you like.
I can just play them.
Yeah, and you just keep on playing.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like the Minecraft
Yeah.
videos.
There are no questions right away, so I will have another one.
Yes, sure.
And everyone else can think of a question. So at the moment, the game has 2 cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we talked before about the game a lot, and one thing I'm interested about is how hard it is to find cases, real cases that you can use for your game. Are there only 2 because it was so hard to find any, or do you have dozens more just waiting for more funding?
No, finding more cases was not the problem.
Okay.
We found a lot. Building them took so long. Yes, originally we planned to do way more, and that is also. I mean, maybe that's on a side note. The game is very successful review-wise. It has a Metacritic of 80 right now, which is really good. In the gaming press as well, which is also different to our first game, which also got good reviews, but not at that level and not on that amount. It's really it just. But building this kind of like quality takes time really, and funding, and so we ended up with these 2 cases, and and the main critic is that it's too short. That's what we get from players all the time. They want more cases. I could have played this 4 hours more, and so on. And that's really great, given the topic and everything. That still people dive into this voluntarily and play with this.
Yeah, I'm kind of a hypocrite. All the time I say games are too long. I want shorter games. I don't have the time anymore to play them.
Yeah.
But after finishing this game, I also thought, I would love to have another case.
Yeah.
I mean, at least 3, but let's make it 4. Yeah. One thing I was thinking about, and I know I talked already about with you and with Mona, who also was developing the game. So now we have a case of someone who was murdered, and after the war, of course, this was illegal even during the time, so it could be prosecuted. But we have also a lot of victims of Nazi-era crimes where the crime of the victims consisted of them just being who they are.
Yeah.
For example, queer people.
Yeah.
But after the war in Germany, being gay was still illegal, so they didn't really have the opportunity to go to the police and say, "Hey, I was."
That's something that we digged in a lot, and also we're wondering if there's a way of getting it into the game. Also with Sinti and Roma, right? Because it was very similar. They were still persecuted after the war and still not considered proper victims, basically, by the German authorities. I would love to explore this as well, and maybe even have a case that you cannot solve, right? Because or that is closed right away because they say, there's nothing we can do. You can see a little bit. Maybe you can visit the archive while we talk. That we have way more ideas that we wanted to tell or put into the archive, like real cases that we wanted to tell about, and then at least in the archive you can dig them up and read about them in a consumable way.
And maybe you could talk a bit more about the real cases.
Yes.
So one thing that's really different in this game and also a bit depressing is, so usually if you do everything right in a game, then you will have success and the game will tell you won. But with this game it's different. You can have all the evidence, but still winning at court can feel like you lost. So in the case we played now, it's like, okay, I know who did it and who was also involved, but I can.
You can't get the victim alive again.
And I can prosecute all. So the guy who gave the order is already dead. The bystanders were just bystanders, even if they did their part in this whole situation. And at the end, the only person that's really where you have the feeling he gets punished is the one who pressed the trigger. So, and it's even worse, I felt, in the second case, and maybe you can also tell a bit about the real background of the second case.
The second case is a case about a young woman in Braunschweig, in Brunswick, Anna Wajinski. She was a young woman, was working in a factory, and she was, like, if you look at all the surrounding aspects, she was like what they considered unsocial and asocial. And poor, and her, at least her father, I think, was Polish, and all these things that like fed in, and what happened back then was she was accused of looting a bombing site, so taking something from a bomb site, which was considered treason, and she was killed for that. And her mother and her stepfather tried to how do we say?
Exonerated?
Yeah, exonerate her, that's the right term. And after the war, and they tried for decades, like for 40 years, several times, and they were always shut down until 1994. That's how long it took. And in our game, you can actually solve you can solve this much sooner. And what came out there was that she didn't really loot. That didn't really happen. It was some neighbor who denunciated her, and for some small reason. That's what I meant earlier. They were like, you have like these little human things. Like in the first case, it's kind of a middle management guy who doesn't want to admit they did something wrong, and then in the end someone is dead because of this is how the system works. And in the second case, it's someone being jealous and denunciating her, and then again someone is dead because this is how that system worked at the time and who the victim was. And but eventually, all of this is connected in the end to the Auschwitz trial. This is basically spoilers. Sorry, but this is basically like the big case that is happening on the side all the time. There are new documents showing up, and the Peters that we met in the beginning, who was so unlikable, but he's actually the good guy, and he's digging into this case. And then eventually Bauer shuts down the whole operation because now they all go on the Auschwitz trial. That's the conclusion, and there's also a personal connection, but I will not spoil that. And yeah, this is how it's connected.
And there's a lot of other Fritz Bauer lore, you would call it, in a game that's kind of sprinkled in between the game.
Yeah.
I know at one point you can hear your legal assistant talking about Fritz Bauer mumbling something about Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some Fritz Bauer fan service in there. That is referring to him going to Argentina, to Eichmann, or things like this. The Rema trial is also mentioned.
Now there are questions.
Yes.
Just wondering how long have you been working on it for, and what was your kind of team size?
That's interesting, I guess. We have been working on this for, depends on when you start putting it on the clock. I mean, the original concept was done in 2019. Then we were doing another project in between, and it was kind of on hold. And then we really started working on it with a team in 2022, and then worked on it for pretty much 3 years. So it shipped early this year with a team of around, it was always at least 7 people on it. To sometimes when we had to get it out, for example, we were like up to 15. So I can give you actually numbers. I'm happy to share because I think it's good for people to know a little bit what we're talking here. The development cost in the end around 1.5 million euros. We got public fundings of, I think, 700,000 in the end. We pretty much went to everyone we could. We were funded by Creative Europe, and then the local Berlin thing, and then the Bundesförderung, and the rest we paid ourselves.
And did you mention the crowdfunding?
Oh yeah, and crowdfunding.
Because you just saw the cat. The cat is
Yeah,
there
it's
because
just,
of
right.
the crowdfunding.
The cat also came through Kickstarter. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. People love the cat.
Curious if there were any major mechanics that got cut from the game because of time constraints. I know that obviously the game design changed a lot from the Darkest of Times, and that shaped a lot of what came out. But were there any mechanics that you thought absolutely this is going to be in the final thing, and it just evaporated because of time? Or
Not really, because it was really more. We had the core game loop down relatively fast after, like, when we started working on it 2022. We were working on it with the entire team, so 12 people, I think, for 4 months or so, and created our first Gamescom demo in that time. And we had already basically the core mechanics there. We changed them later, and from there on, we only added things, really. We didn't have to cut anything. We had to change the chord, was very difficult, I have to say, and required a lot of iteration. So it was more like taking out one approach and doing something different than really removing something that didn't get finished. Yeah. And also the game mechanics wasn't. Yeah, they took time, of course, and iteration was really the content and testing it and getting it right that took long. Yeah.
Okay, one last question.
Yes.
Did you use voice actors or AI for the vocals?
No. No.
Which
no.
one?
No AI. No AI. It's all people, and it's all Germans, as you might have noticed, which was both practical and also intentional, because we wanted the English version because we needed to make the game for a global market, because otherwise we would never make our money back, and yeah, especially the US does not accept other spoken languages, so we made it in English, but we wanted that it sounds like this is taking place in Germany and not like having people with British accent or yeah, right.
I think it's maybe one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you mentioned press, also international press or mostly German press? Like, what's the general feedback?
Both. Actually, we got a lot of international press as well. Yeah, both. It was a little less than with Through the Darkest of Times. I think that has to do with the current political situation, because interestingly enough, when we released Through the Darkest of Times in the US press, there were a lot of comparisons made. That was in 2020. And there were a lot of comparisons made by, yeah, I would say places like Wired and so on to Trump. They looked at the game and said like, oh, that's kind of like what's happening to us right now, and that did not happen now. Interestingly enough, yeah, but both.
Okay. Then we are nearly on time. Thank you very much, Jörg. That was really interesting. Thank you, Mani, for playing for us.
I would like to read one last thing, because I put that down, because I think this is like our biggest success with the game. I think there's a quote from a reviewer who played the game, and he ended the review with, "By the time I finished, I felt like I had just stepped out of a documentary I didn't know I needed to see. It left me feeling angry, sad, and strangely hopeful, because the game's real message isn't just about remembering the past. It's about the importance of telling the truth, even when no one wants to hear it."
Thank you. Perfect last words. I can't add anything to that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your question. And yeah,
all right.
See you at the closing.
Yeah.